people.
Okay, all right, then.
Okay.
Okay, on this gloomy afternoon, let's call the meeting of the Personnel Committee to order. Mrs. Milton, will you call a roll?
Yep, Sylvia Nichols,
Here.
Pete Talbot, and John
Here.
Walsh, and there's a quorum present.
Okay, and
All right.
put us the flag. Can we together recite the pledge? I pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the
of the United States of America
and to
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty
and
and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. I thought I heard your voice, George. Was that you?
I am here.
Okay. This is thanks for being available this afternoon, because Sean and Arnett have some proposals for us for changing some of the job descriptions. So without, we've all had the papers to look at, so I hope you've had a chance to look at it. Sean, where would you like to begin?
Sure. So yeah, just really quickly at the outset, and thank you everyone for pulling together this meeting. As Sylvia said, we are looking to get approval for these and ideally approval for the May 11th council meeting, such that we might go ahead and advertise some of these positions, again, subject to ultimately budget approval for the entire budget understanding. But due to the timeline and some of the logistical challenges created by the delayed budget approval, we want to start recruiting for these positions, even if we had to press pause or not if budgets weren't finally adopted. But we could at least start the process. So we're trying to get these things through. So I think if we could start with assistant town engineer, because George is here and on the line, and we can go to the other two if that's all right.
Okay, that works for us.
All right. And I can share it, George, if you'd like, but maybe I know everyone's had a chance to review it. So we could just very briefly explain what we're asking for. And then if there's any questions, just answer questions maybe.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me. The job description we put together is a little more beefy than our traditional town engineer job description. And part of that is because we're likely using the consulting town engineer for at least another year, if not longer. So this kind of envisions that scenario where we're going to have a little bit of a hybrid in-house versus contracted consultants to do some of the work. And it kind of memorializes a little bit of it actually memorializes under that scenario what the assistant town engineer would need to do. In this, if you've had a chance to read it beforehand, the black type is what is in the original job description that's been around for many years, and the red is what's being added. There's many bullets. I want to say 9 additional bullets that are added at the end of what was the old traditional job description. That again just kind of memorializes more what the in-house person would do versus what we would have a contracted town engineer do. So that's the high level. If you want to get into any details, I'm certainly willing and able to do that.
Have Peter or Don, have you had a chance to have any questions?
I just had one quick question. I know you said the ability to lift a manhole cover, great, without listing how much one of those weighs, and I don't know how much one of would it be better just to say, a certain specific amount of weight instead? Because I don't know if they all weigh the same or whatever, and I think it's, just clarify, must be able to lift 50 pounds or something like that.
Sure. We could do that. That's certainly not a problem. It's just that would be probably the heaviest thing this person would need to lift for sure.
Yeah, and that's what I figured. But you say, oh, gee, I didn't realize they weighed this much.
Yeah, we could put estimated 50 pounds or whatever in parentheses after the catch basin grades. That's a good edit, I think.
Sure.
Yeah, I think in some commercial contracts, they do that. They say you must be able to lift 50 pounds or, 80 pounds, whatever it is. But maybe to add that along with the verbiage of lifting the manhole covers, because there's always that person who says, well, you asked me to lift bag of sand or something, and that was heavier than the manhole cover. So I think maybe to clarify it a little bit might make it cleaner, but I'll leave that up to you as to how to do that, in my opinion. Peter?
I know that in ours, when we do stuff like that along the exact same line of what Don was talking about, instead of listing every item that you may have to lift, you put in the qualifications that, the ability to lift 75 pounds and
Mhm.
75 pounds covers, a tire, a sewer grade, and anything else in between. So.
And I have a question, George, and I don't know that maybe I never read this before, if it didn't happen, but your function number 2 says, and performs construction stakeout with electronic total station surveying equipment. Do we normally have some sort of stakeout at our construction sites? What is that?
We do at times. So a lot of that is for grades, mainly for sidewalks. I would say
Okay.
that's 90% of it. So just we have some basic surveying equipment, a total station, which is just kind of a catch-all, but and the person just needs to be able to operate that and
Okay.
put a stake in the ground and say, this is the finished grade, this is where the top of the sidewalk is going to go. And
So
It
it's not,
sounded like it was a
it's-
police.
I was
police-
gonna say,
it's
it's
not a
not
police
sitting
stakeout.
outside somebody's house all night with a camera or anything.
yeah, that's right. I didn't even think of that stakeout.
At least
That's what I
that's what we
thought.
want you to believe. So,
All right, we're going on a stakeout.
Yeah.
So I do not have any other questions or concerns.
I had one more thing.
Okay,
In the desired knowledge, skills, and abilities, where you have professional engineers designation preferred, or ability to obtain within 6 months of employment. So when you say ability to obtain it within 6 months, makes it sound like you want them to have it. So should it be preferred, or should it be necessary? A mandate.
Required.
Right. I think the idea is that if somebody could apply who doesn't have it currently, but they can get it within 6 months. So I guess if you said professional engineers designation required, I guess you could say required or ability. to
Required
obtain,
or ability to get it within 6 months,
Sure.
rather than saying
Yep.
preferred.
Sure.
I think just
Yep.
make sure that they know that you want them to have that.
Sure. We can make that change. Good catch.
okay. Do you want to approve each one of these individually or all 3 at the end? Is it better? Which is the better way to do this, Sean? Is it better to approve each one individually, or does it matter?
it doesn't matter to me. It's really your preference.
All right, let's just do it all as a group when we're, so that we don't have to have separate motions. So we're good with that? No other questions? I guess not. Okay, so which
you,
one would you
George.
like to go to next, Sean?
All right. Thank you, George. And let's go ahead and open up. Let's see what my next one in my queue is. The Economic Development Coordinator, if that's all right.
Okay.
Yep.
I will
Down.
share my screen. So this will be, oh, it's not sharing. There we go. All right. So
Sit down.
there we go. As the council members are aware, Jerry Sicko, our longtime economic development coordinator, is retiring this year, and we are planning for his succession in this upcoming budget. We took an opportunity to review the job description and make a few slight modifications, nothing really substantial. Obviously, the primary focus remains economic development work. Physically, this position is moving into the town manager's office area, and human resources is moving down the hall in this former area. So I know the council's aware of that proposed change, but that doesn't really affect the job description. But it is part of the overall department reorg for my office. But you will see also, and this is really in some ways memorializing something Jerry already did. As everyone's aware, Jerry had a lot of involvement in other areas, even beyond economic development or loosely affiliated, such as grant writing or general projects that popped up, special projects, the 325th celebration, things like that. He was a little bit of a utility player. And so we want to make sure we keep that ability in the next person. But also the grant writing function is something that I really believe can be expanded even more, or at least codified, because I think this should be somebody who is on the lookout for additional grant opportunities, assists with applications where appropriate, or in many cases, as I said here, serves as the primary point of contact if appropriate. Maybe not for every public works bridge project or whatever, if it's a highly technical grant, but certainly helping out maybe with human services or police department or somewhere where maybe they don't have, well, we know they don't have an in-house grants person, but someone who's kind of familiar with the templates and the state agencies and some of the key contacts. So that's really an expansion, a little bit of beyond just economic development. But as we know, Jerry's been very involved, whether it's ball and socket or any other grant opportunity that we've had here in town. And so really that's the primary change, the reporting relationship, just town manager or a designee, as our current structure was memorialized last year with Arnett supervising this department. And then again, a few other tweaks. I don't need to go probably through each detail, but again, as needed, assist with special projects involving municipal or significant community-wide events, just a catch-all for that person. And that's another one of the reasons we wanted this position in my office, where I can be a little more familiar with some of those or influence some of the projects that we prioritize out of this office or townwide events, et cetera. So I'll stop sharing so I can see you again. And if there's any questions on that.
Sean, I have a question to begin with. We didn't discuss it in the last one, but this position are your changes going to expand the scope of the job? And will that ultimately result in an expansion of salary and responsibility?
Certainly not for this one. I think again, a lot of this, and in that E4 classification, we had already upgraded this, I want to say 2 or 2.5 years ago, from an E3 to an E4. And that really is that's the second highest classification for non-union. The salary range is plenty to accommodate. Economic development, it's sort of a unique position. Yes, some other towns have the position, not every town does. Development work is, a little specialized. And so I don't think we're going to have, 200 applications necessarily, but I think we really want to expand our reach as far as we can. But also, I don't think it would be uncommon for someone who has development experience to also have fundraising or grant writing experience. So I think those go hand in hand. And again, whether it was in his description or not, Jerry was doing it. So I don't see a significant change there. I think the grade remains appropriate.
And that answers that question, but it leads me to another when I think, and you and I've talked about this sort of tangentially along the way. I think that we could do a better job in town at promoting our town in a more, how do I want to say it, more structured way. I think we missed the opportunity to sing the praises of our town. Is that a job that the economic development coordinator would work on in maybe developing some sort of printed material or something on the website or anything like that? Or is that a different function completely because it's more of an administrative project?
No, I really see it as the primary function of this position. The job description does reference, brochures and promotional materials, but I think we're going to be taking that, or my vision is to take that further than what we've ever done before. We've definitely relied on, the trifold pamphlets and, the different events and things like that. But we're really looking to have somebody who can come in with maybe some more technological experience or digital promotional experience that can help put together and partner sort of as we did by need this last year. And with Jerry's heavy involvement, frankly, his brainchild, some of the work we did with Bizzuto's Media to promote local businesses and some of
Right.
It's not that far from that to sort of a branding campaign. And this is Cheshire moving forward campaign. Some of it's just going to be having that next person in here with that skill set and hopefully that experience to move us forward there. So I really see it as this person. And when we talk about the management specialist who will be sitting where Melanie used to sit, while that person primarily supports my position in Arnett's, I did build into there that they should be, in a perfect world, we'll have someone with some of those complementary technology experience that they can help with that too out of this office, because that's a big thing. It's a big thing for me, and it's a big thing for our office, and I know it's a big priority for the town council. So.
Thank you. Peter, Don, anything to add?
Peter, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm good.
Okay, well, just a couple things. I didn't see where, I mean, I would think this position would be working closely with our chamber as well, correct? Should that be mentioned in there? Because, I mean, I know the chamber is a separate group, but I mean, I think that's a big part of economic development, working with our chamber to make sure that, we get the leads. And I don't know if you want to, if that should be put in as part of his job or her job description.
Sure.
Or,
yeah, I mean, I think to your point, I could see it either in or out. I mean, it's almost a requirement. I mean, it's almost so fundamental. I mean, we do work so closely with the chamber, but for that reason, I would have no problem adding it if we wanted to say, works. I know there's addresses various business and civic groups. And I think there was one other area that mentioned, again, obviously works with existing businesses to retain presence in town. Maybe that's an area where, if you'd like, I could certainly add works with existing businesses and the Cheshire Chamber of Commerce to.
well, I just think it's important. And I know Jerry is a very close relationship with Yetta and the chamber. And I think it's important that whoever takes that position should have a similar relationship with them, because I think they go hand in hand sometimes.
Yeah, sure.
And the other thing is, and this might just be, everybody should know it anyway, but since you have, know how to use a phone and a fax and all that, should they know how to use Word and Excel and PowerPoint? I mean, those are things that should be, believe it or not, there are a lot of people who don't know how to use Excel. And I think that's a pretty important part of knowing how to do things, is knowing Excel. And most people know how to use Word, but Excel and PowerPoint could be important for this position.
Is that in there, or was that in the next proposal?
I didn't see it neither. I was going to bring it up for the next one too.
Oh, I think it's in the next one because I'm reading it. But a considerable knowledge and skill in the ability to written correspondence and desktop computers, and that's all in that one.
I think he's speaking specifically of Microsoft Suite.
Microsoft Excel. I mean, I'm assuming that that's something that they use a lot. I don't know.
It is typically what we've done. I mean, my experience has been, I think everyone has a little different approach, but we put that in the job advertisement. So we'll say what we're looking for.
Okay.
Whereas, because we sometimes don't change these job descriptions for 10 or 20 years, it's entirely possible that new things come along, and you certainly don't want someone to say, well, you didn't say Twitter, or whatever. Again, with these kind of positions, I have no concern over it, but sometimes we don't put those and memorialize them in the actual job description. But I can tell you in the job postings, the advertisements, we definitely say that for sure.
I could tell because you have fax machine in there too.
Yeah, that's right. You're right. We still have a fax machine.
I know. Yeah.
We have one. But that's a good point. Yeah, I think I would probably lean towards not putting it. Otherwise, maybe just, but I can commit that we will definitely have it in the job posting when we go to advertising.
Okay.
Peter, are you good?
I'm good.
Good. Oh, that's easy, right? Okay. Then the last one is the management specialist position.
All right, perfect. So I will share this as well. And again, this one is near and dear to my heart. This is a brand new position as proposed. And Arnett's heart, yes. Hold on. Oh my gosh. Click. There we go. And share. Okay. Hopefully that's up there now.
Yep.
All right. This is a position that I've been hoping to create for a couple of years now, and opportunities have presented themselves to make this a reality. But this is a brand new position, although effectively at this point in the budget, as we are discussing, this will be replacing the former administrative assistant to the town manager position that was in my office. And I know you've all had a chance to look through it, and you'll see some of the core essential functions. One way to think about this, though, that I think is important is this is really an evolution of kind of away from the traditional secretarial administrative assistant primary functions with additional responsibilities added, and more of a key administrative, yes, support person. However, a key member of the team who's working on projects, doing analysis, high level, graduate level, school level or higher work for our office, and then also being responsible for the day-to-day phones and working through feedback from the community, constituents and things like that. So while all of it, some of these things were in the prior job description as well, the key priorities here, and some of it comes back to our own needs in the office that Arnett, certainly could speak to too, have evolved. And with technology, we're more self-sufficient than we used to. We write a lot of our own letters. We do a lot of our own work. And I know I've talked about this with the personnel committee in the past. It's really an opportunity to see this position provide a higher level of support and participate. I see this person attending council meetings from time to time. More often than not, I see them being a key member of initiatives and projects and longer term things in the office. And again, that's reflected beyond just all of the detail responsibilities in the required qualifications that this person, I would envision, typically could be a couple years or maybe a year out of graduate school in a master's in public administration or public policy or some related field. Entirely possible that this is somebody who maybe only stays with us for 2 or 3 years. We'd love to have them longer, but maybe they're on a career track where they're trying to move to an assistant town manager or a town manager position, and that can be okay. I've seen this work really well in a position in a town that I'm very familiar with from before. And I think this is a great opportunity and I'm really, as you can tell, excited about this position. And again, open to feedback for sure. And I'm sure there's some tweaks we could probably make, but I think this is something that's going to really benefit the town long-term and not really cost a lot more money. So I don't know if you want me to walk through any of the details, but that's just the general overview.
Have you had time, both of you, to look at these? I mean, you've read the information yourselves, have you?
I did, yes.
Okay, Peter, you have any questions?
Other than a statement to say that I think this is a fantastic idea. It really is a complete shift in the way we've thought about an administrative assistant, and putting in someone who is, like Sean mentioned, on a career path. I think this is brilliant and support it to the max.
Yeah.
But as far as the description itself, there's nothing that, that I came up with looking through it that I would add or take away. So.
Thank you. Don?
Yeah, and I'll agree with Peter. I think this is a position that hopefully will take some of the weight off the two of your shoulders, because I know you've been dealing with a lot of stuff, especially now that Melanie has been gone for a couple of weeks. So you're just adding more to it. Just getting these meetings set up, I know is a hassle. But I think this is something that is long and coming, and I will totally support it. The one thing I did I guess, because I was questioning about needing a master's degree for this position, but I guess by you clarifying, saying this could be somebody on their the first step in their road up the ladder. But what if somebody comes in and they have 10 years experience of doing something comparable in another town, but they only have a BS or a BA? Does that make them not qualified or not?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think, obviously we maintain some level of, management discretion ultimately on that. If there was really an opportunity to make an agreement or a probationary period or something, I'm pretty confident, having seen this position work well before, that there is a significant group of people that would be very, very interested in this, coming out of some of the master's programs, not just UConn where I went, but a few other schools in the state that offer MPA or MPP degrees. this time of year is actually kind of perfect as they're trying to line up their own post-graduate school employment. In
So do
many
you perceive
cases,
somebody coming right out of college, taking a position like that with their master's degree?
you could, I think in my experience, I think the level and quality of work you get when somebody's kind of made that decision that they're going to go in one path, especially if they're thinking of going into town government or municipal management, you kind of get that after grad school. I will say, for comparison, when again, Simsbury has a very, very similar position, they did something where they advertised it as what they called underfilling. Underfilling is when you say, if you don't have a master's degree, we could underfill it as a management analyst. And then when you get your master's, you become a management specialist. And they had a lower pay range for that, about 10,000 on the top and the bottom lower. I suppose if we don't get a big response from this, we could revisit that if we really needed to, but I'm pretty confident. And again, speaking of UConn's graduate program where I went, they have a very robust, basically paid internship program your second year in grad school where you're placed with organizations. That's another thing I'd like us to maybe take advantage of in the future. But that's a good pipeline where you have a lot of folks go and they do their 15 hours a week for a whole year with an organization. And more often than not, they end with a job offer or something like that. And that's ultimately where you have a position like this get filled pretty easily because they're leaving with their master's degree or maybe waiting a month or two and then you have them on board. So I'm pretty confident we're going to have a great response. We're a very attractive community and town government, and also just geographically, we're pretty easy to access for a lot of folks across the state. So I think we're going to
No, I think it's a good idea. Yeah, that makes sense.
And I will just add my 2 cents. I agree with that. I think I see this as another important step in Sean taking control over the way he would like to see the structure of the management in the town based on newer ways to do things. We get in a rut. We've been doing things a certain way for a long time, and we just assume that's the only way to do it. I think this is a fantastic opportunity to do just what he says, get young people in who are interested, to groom them, maybe to go on to another job. I think it relieves the pressure on Arnett to do the things that she's much better at, some other things, and not having to spend the time to do some of these things that a newer, less experienced person could learn doing. And that's how Arnett learned. Now she's learned and she can do it all, but she shouldn't have to do it all, right? So I would fully support this. And I think that it ties into the thought that we at the Personnel Committee had about having a sort of a council work, I don't know what we're calling it, a workshop or a thing to just discuss the structure and the way things are going to move forward in the operation of the town to make it as efficient as we can and as productive as we can and provide the services we continue to provide, as well as adding more at a reasonable cost. So to me, this makes perfect sense. So I would 100% support it as well. So any other questions? So then we need to entertain a motion from one of you to approve, have the Personnel Committee approve these 3 job changes so that we can present that to the council for approval at the meeting of May 11. Was that the date? May 11?
Yep.
Okay. So who would like to do that?
I will move that, Madam Chair.
Okay,
I will second that.
perfect. And I will call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
thank you all very
Efficiency at
much.
its best, right?
I appreciate the support.
Sean, are there any other, and nothing else that we need to address today?
Nothing for tonight's meeting. No. Here,
So then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, seconded,
And I will second.
and we will all vote to adjourn.
And
Take care. Have a good
George,
day.
thank you for